Exposing the truth.
Apple reported their second biggest quarter in history. Let's check it out. Apple posted quarterly revenue at $84.3 billion, a decline of 5% from the year ago quarter, which was their biggest quarter in history. And quarterly earnings per diluted share, we're not shareholders, so we don't care about that. International sales accounted for 62% of the quarter's revenue. Good, good. That means Apple is doing good outside of the United States, their home country. Service revenues reached an all-time high of $10.9 billion. That's a lot, and it's interesting. It's interesting. We already know that services is as big as a Fortune 100 company. But I read an article. I haven't double checked the math yet, but I read an article that claimed that services alone makes more money than Beats, AirPods, Apple TV, Apple Watch, and a few other products combined. So services is making just a ridiculous amount of money. I wouldn't doubt it that in the future it would make as much money as iPhone. 1.4 billion active devices. How many people is there in the world? I haven't checked in a while, but that's a large percentage of the world population right there, all from one company. Apple's board of directors has declared a cash dividend. We're not shareholders, so let's ignore that. Revenue from iPhone declined 15% from the prior year, while the total revenue from all other products grew 19%. So pretty much everything grew 19%, and iPhone declined 15%. I think most of that, I'm not sure how much of that is from China, but most of it is from China. Now, that does not mean Apple is doomed. A lot of people are holding on to their iPhones longer, obviously, which means less sales if people aren't buying a new iPhone every year. Revenue from Mac and wearables, home and accessories also reached all-time highs, growing 9% and 33% respectively. Basically, Mac and wearables grew 33%. Oh, whoops, wrong. Mac and wearables grew 9%, and home and accessories grew 33%. That's pretty damn good. This is weird because I could have sworn it was the opposite way because wearables is huge right now. AirPods and Apple Watch are just killing it. They're two of the most successful products in tech history. Apple's doing very, very good, innovating like always. Revenue from iPad grew 17%. iPad is doing really good, and it grows pretty much every quarter. A lot of people will say that iPad is a failure because it's not growing substantially, but it's just ridiculous. At least it's growing every damn quarter. I can't think of much tech products that have grown that much for that long. A lot of tech products are popular for a year and you never hear of them again. A lot of companies would kill to have an iPad on their products list. For fiscal year 2019, quarter two, Apple is predicting revenue between $55 billion and $59 billion. Very, very high. Very, very good. Apple is up. AAPL is up. We're not shareholders. Let's ignore that. China dropped 26.7% year over year from last year. Europe down 3.3%. Japan down 4.5%. US up 5.0%. Let's explain this one backwards because I think China is the most interesting, and I want to get to that last. US up. This is the second most interesting to me. US up 5%. That's very good considering there's a lot of freaking iPhones in the United States. People bought more of them. That's ridiculous. Japan down 4.5%. Again, not good, of course, but a lot of iPhones, they just freaking last long. Europe down 3.3%. That's really nothing. China dropped 26.7%. Do you guys see a difference here? 5, 4.5, 3.3. Very little. Even this up. Down 26.7. That's a lot. China's very salty at the United States right now, and they're taking it out on Apple. What they're doing is they're having an Apple boycott. The government doesn't want people using Apple products. Apple does not share personal info, so they're against that. They have a trade war going with the United States, and someone from Yaye, whatever that company's called, was arrested in Canada, and they're and Apple is collateral damage. They're taking it all out on Apple, even though Apple has nothing to do with any of these events going on currently. So they have an Apple boycott, and they're looking down on companies that use Apple products. It's just getting ridiculous. It's funny because in the U.S., we treat Apple the same. We treat them like shit, and we encourage people to buy Chinese knockoffs. The hate for Apple is so deeply rooted in culture. It's disgusting because commercials have told people don't buy Apple products. You're stupid if you buy one, and then people are like, hey, yeah, commercial said I'm stupid if I buy one, so I won't. It's just ridiculous. Even though Apple invented the iPhone and almost everything that everyone is copying now, they're encouraging you to buy the cheap knockoffs that spy on you and sell your data. And people are stupid enough to listen to that. The Apple hate is so fabricated, it's sad. China's really going all anti-Apple right now. That's where we're seeing the drop. That's not the only thing. Of course, there's the trade war, there's the currency changes, and there's a lot. It's a lot more complicated than that. But that is part of the puzzle piece, and it's really sad. Quarterly revenue and gross margin. Remember all those doom articles that say, "Oh yeah, Apple's gonna go out of business," all this crap, all that hyperbole. This is what they're stressing about. See these lines that poke out? These are the holiday quarters where Apple does the best. As you can see in 2012, here it is, which was really freaking good for any company. 2013, a little higher. 2014, a little higher. 2015, way higher. 2016, tiny bit higher. 2017, tiny bit higher. 2018, substantially higher. 2019, a little lower. That's what everybody was stressing about. This is almost flat. This was the big deal, guys, that everyone was complaining about. Look at gross margin is almost the same as last year. This was the big deal. Funny thing is the whole, oh, Apple is failing, they're going down. That whole meme, it's dying. You notice that a lot of new YouTube videos and just articles, they're not talking about the Apple decline anymore because this quarterly report proved them wrong. It wasn't as bad as they thought. Remember, guys, Doom articles, Doom videos generate clicks. People love to hate Apple. Research and development is up 500 million. That basically means that they're spending more money to work on the future. I don't like speaking on rumors much, but the rumors say they're working on a car, glasses, and new services. The car has been confirmed, but I just don't like speaking on rumors because they're rumors, and a lot of times they end up being false. We do know a car has been in development since Steve Jobs was around, but again, I'm not going to comment on the specifics because we don't know the damn specifics. Only the CEOs will. Net income is 100 million less than the year ago quarter at 19.965 billion versus 20.065 billion. Not a lot, guys, not a lot. Apple CEO Tim Cook to CNBC on January so far. As we got into January, things have improved. So things are getting better for Apple so far from last quarter, from where they ended in December, and that gives us some optimism. Of course, you don't know what will continue, but I would also point out that seems to map to trade tension as well. Again, the trade wars. That there is a bit more optimism in the air in January, which was just a few days ago. Or certainly I feel that anyways. I'm encouraged by the comments coming out of both countries. So things are looking up so far in 2019. Cook to Reuters on January so far. When you look at foreign currencies and then participate those markets that weakened over the last year, those iPhone price increases were obviously more. And so as we've gotten into January and assessed the macroeconomic condition in some of those markets, we've decided to go back to more commensurate, I hate that word, with what our local prices were a year ago in hopes of helping the sales in those areas. There was this, I don't know if the dumb meme is still going around, oh, iPhones are getting more expensive. No, they're not. The iPhone XS is priced the same as the 10 was last year. The reason why they say this is because there's an illusion. It's an illusion. The 10s Max is more expensive. But there wasn't an X Max last year. Of course, a bigger screen is going to cost more. Common sense. Come on, man. iPhone quarterly revenue. You can see the big hit from China. Sorry, Apple, but that's the big one. As you can see, it's not so bad because even in 2012 they were killing it. Now they're almost twice as they're making almost twice as much revenue, but of course, doom, 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 doom. Services revenue per quarter. This one's good. You can see in 2014, in 4 years, it's about twice as much. Imagine that in 4 years, it's twice as much as with the growth rate. They're seeing like 20% year over year every year. With this same growth rate, in 4 years, they will be making twice as much as this. So this chart will have to be expanded higher. It'll be somewhere up here. It won't be long at this rate. The services will catch up to iPhone, which would be good for Apple. Cook, more than 2/3 of customers in China with an iPad or Mac were buying for the first time. People are saying, oh, iPhone isn't selling, iPhone isn't selling. The thing is, it's not selling as much as it did last year, but people are holding on to iPhones longer. People don't have to buy an iPhone every year. Their customer base is growing. So let me give you a quick analogy off the top of my head. Let's say I own a store and I have 500 customers. Those 500 customers come every week to my store. In a year from now, those 500 customers don't come every week anymore. They come every 2 weeks. But I've also gained 200 more customers. How many customers do I have now? I have a lot more. And the customers are spending the same amount of money per month. So that's basically how it is with Apple. Their customer base is growing, whether you like it or not. Yeah, they have like a billion iPhones out. Not every billion person is upgrading every year. That would be ridiculous. It'd be good for Apple, but that's just not the reality here. People are holding on to them longer, and new customers are coming in and coming in. And that's why we see a big rise in services, because there's more people own Apple, more people own Apple, iPad, iPhone, whatever. That's why their services, otherwise services would be completely flat if they had the same amount of customers. They don't. They're getting more customers every year. Cook, business in China on a year-over-year comparison is up. So business in China is up, but iPhone is what really got hurt in China. Cook, outside of iPhone, business grew by 19%. Business is growing outside of iPhone. And just keep in mind, they had a record quarter last year. So a small dip, it's not a big deal. They just had a record quarter. Cook, 3 factors to iPhone sales volume drops. Foreign exchange, I think I spoke about that. Subsidiaries less common internationally. In the past, the carriers would help with the iPhone prices. Now they're not doing that as often. Battery replacement program. This was a good deal from Apple, but it's biting them back in revenue. To me, it doesn't matter. Apple is number one in customer satisfaction, and I think that good deed will ring well in people's minds, and they will remember that Apple cared about their batteries. Now, Apple was willing to hurt their own revenues in order to help out the customer. I like that. 1.3 billion active devices in beginning of January 2018 grew to 1.4 billion at the end of December 2010. Jeez, that's ridiculous. Is that over 10% of the world population? It's just ridiculous. Highest quarterly music revenue ever. Oh my goodness. I can't even explain how. I know a lot of my viewers are young, but damn. I wish I could explain in words how big this is. When Apple revolutionized the music industry with iTunes, they were breaking records. All the money, almost all the money was being funneled to Apple. For them to break their own damn record in 2019, after people said that the music industry was going to crash and that music revenue was going down, for Apple to rebound and report the highest quarterly music revenue ever is ridiculous. With 50 million paid subscribers, if you've seen my old video about Apple Music taking over, I predicted, I could be wrong, but I'm trying to remember my own prediction. I think I predicted that Apple would hit 80 million this year, and we're on our way to that. Another big one, another record. 322 million spent on App Store on New Year's Day alone. Record breaking. Again, coincides with what we were talking about. There's more users. 322 million in a day. That's a record. It won't be long if Apple continues where we'll see 1 billion spent on a single freaking day. It's ridiculous. 1.8 billion Apple Pay transactions in the holiday quarter. Of course, the most secure payment method in history. Very good. Applaud Apple for that one. Deutsche Bank reports more Apple Pay activations in Germany in a week, comparable to any Android service in a year. Now, I don't like when they compare to Android. I don't know why they do that, but consider this. People like to pretend that Android is a company or a phone. It's not. It's an OS used by a ton of companies. Last I checked, there was over 1,000 Android manufacturers and over 3,000 Android phones. Consider Apple is one company. There was more Apple Pay activations in a week than hundreds of Android manufacturers in a year. One company versus hundreds in Germany. It's ridiculous. 33% in wearables, home, and accessories. That's a growth here. That's what that means. 33% growth in wearables, home, and accessories, with 50% growth in wearables alone. Keep in mind, guys, Apple Watch and AirPods are two of the most successful products in tech history. So this is no surprise. It's crazy. These numbers, we shouldn't be seeing these numbers. These numbers are ridiculous, but it's happening. And since they're two of the biggest products in tech history, that's no surprise. But the numbers are still shocking. Any company would love to have an AirPod or an Apple Watch under their belt. Apple has both. Cook on keys to success. Satisfied customers, again, number one in customer satisfaction for a long, long time. It's funny because you see all these YouTubers and all these people, random nobodies saying, oh yeah, Apple treats their customers like crap. But here's the reality. Satisfied customers, number one is customer satisfaction every year for a ton of years. I lost count. Who would you believe? Consumer Reports and Apple and the customers themselves? Or some random YouTuber bashing Apple for clicks? I'm going to have to say you're pretty stupid if you if you let some damn YouTuber bashing Apple for clicks make up your mind for you or tell you what to think. Growing and strong install base. What did I just mention? Growing install base. They have more users now than they did last year. Culture of innovation. I love so many companies, and I've been watching so many companies closely. Nobody is innovating like Apple. I'd be bold enough to say that Apple's the only one innovating. Cook, confident as ever in the fundamental strength of our business. Of course, you're more confident than the customer would be, or a shareholder. Cook is confident as ever because he knows what products are coming and he knows the pipeline, he knows the roadmap. We don't. So that's good news. Apple Chief Financial Officer Luca Maestri, products gross margin 33.4%, services 62.8%. Ridiculous. Maestri, 900 million iPhones active currently. Growth of 75 million in the last year alone. What did I tell you? Their user base is growing. More people are buying iPhones. No, they're not selling as much, but more people are buying them. Can you figure that out? I'm kind of going back to that store analogy. It was the only analogy I could think of, but more customers. No, they're not entering the store as much, but more of them are coming to my store. They're spending the same amount of money. This data point will be updated periodically. That's really good. Apple said they were going to stop reporting sales numbers, and people freaked out and said, oh, that's because their sales suck. But no one in Android land reports sales numbers either. It's funny how biased people are against Apple. I actually prefer this, where they're going to tell us how many users there is or how many users grew. Apple's doing good. No worries there. Maestri, on track to double 2016 services revenue by 2020. Yeah, look, this goes in line with what I said. I said in 4 years that their service revenue could double. Here it's doubling again in 4 years. I said 2018 to 2022. He's saying 2016 to 2020. On track. That means it's happening, guys. Maestri, over 360 million paid subscriptions across App Store. Jeez Louise. Jeez. Increase of 120 million from year ago. My goodness. Do you realize how big this is? Basically in this past year, they increased a third of their paid subscribers. A third. Are you listening? A third last year. That is freaking ridiculous. No wonder their user base is, it shows their user base is growing, and no wonder revenue is growing so much. Maestri, largest of 30,000 subscription apps. Largest is 0.3% of revenue from subscription apps, likely Netflix MW. I guess that's the editor who put that in. I don't know. Maestri, half of both Mac, iPad purchasers in the holiday quarter were new to the hardware. Cool, new customers to the hardware. Maestri, wearables approaching Fortune 200 company status. So that goes in line with that unconfirmed article I told you about, that services is as big as a Fortune 100 company. Here he says wearables are approaching a Fortune 200 company. So that article is proving right. The one that I said I can't confirm. The article said that services alone is outselling Apple TV, Beats, AirPods, Apple Watch, and a few other Apple products. Combined services. That is ridiculous. So if services was a product, it'd be the second most successful product in Apple history. The third being AirPods so far. Maestri, iPhone trade-ins doubled year over year. Good on Apple. AAPL is up. We're not shareholders. If you're a shareholder, you could care, but most of us aren't. Question and answer time. Question, context for slight growth rate reduction in services. Maestri contextualizes amortization of free services now under services and was previously under products. Reclassification reduces growth rate. Basically what he's saying is free services was reported with services, and because these free services are free, they hurt the overall, what is the word I'm looking for? They hit services, they hit them overall. I can't think of the damn word. I'm half asleep. Sorry, guys. I really am half asleep. It's late. Reclassification is about third of the deceleration of growth. There you go, a third. The average, that's what I was about to say. Without reclassification, growth rate is 24.3%. So that's actually the growth rate versus 19% reported. The problem is they bundled free services in with services, and it hurt the average, bringing it down from 24.3% to 19% reported. To sum this up, if it's really confusing to you guys, services is still doing good. Hold up on review of games in China caused impact to services as well. China, again, really trying to hurt American companies for some reason. I don't know why. Apple is always in the crossfire even when they do nothing wrong. It's easy to hate Apple. Question, how does economy, share price impact stock buyback? We're not shareholders. We don't care. March earnings report will add more detail. We don't care about that. We're not stockholders. Question, what has Apple learned about iPhone price elasticity based on complaints of high pricing? Cook, in essence, pricing is comparable to 2017 releases in the US. Foreign exchange is the problem, and I kind of mentioned that earlier. The whole meme that prices are going up, it's pretty dumb. People just don't understand how economics work, I guess. I don't even understand how economics work, and some of this stuff is common sense to me. iPhone XS is the upgrade to the iPhone 10. Same damn price last year as it was this year. Cook, in January, in some markets, part of all of foreign exchange absorbed by pricing changes. In January, in some markets, part or all of foreign exchange absorbed by price. I don't understand what that means. If you guys could explain it in the comments, I'd appreciate it. Cook, yes, price is a factor. Of course, price is a factor. If iPhones costed $50, of course they'd sell more. And in some markets, the subsidy is the bigger of the issues in the developed markets. Remember, carriers aren't subsidizing iPhones as like they used to. But does that mean Apple should lower their price? I guess they could, but not to the point where these idiots are suggesting. They would run Apple to the ground. Of course, all these critics think they're a better CEO than Cook. It's just ridiculous. They think they can run Apple, the most successful company in human history. They think they could run that company better than the current CEO, who has made Apple 4 times bigger since he took over. Question, request for more information on iPhone average selling price year over year was effectively denied. iPhone XR, most popular. Whatever happened to, it's 480p, it's not going to sell well. Surprise, surprise, iPhone XR most popular, followed by XS Max, then XS. Mac quarterly revenue. Pretty damn good, especially in a declining PC decade. PCs have been declining for a decade, and look, Apple's doing good. Look at this, as far back as 2012. They're even doing a little better. And thing is, Apple is one company. People also like to talk about Windows like it's one computer company. It's not. It's an OS used by a ton of companies. If Apple was only making this much, they'd still be doing good. Last I checked, Apple was making 80% of the PC industry's profits. One company making more profit than hundreds of PC companies. Let that sink in. Question: will device longevity increase over time given Apple's policies? Of course it will. Hand-me-downs, a lot of hand-me-downs out there. And trade-ins are a result of device longevity. Making a great product that is high quality is the best thing for the user. There you go. All these idiots saying, planned obsolescence. You notice that meme died also? Proven wrong. It's actually funny because before the meme was, Apple products break fast. Apple's breaking their products on purpose. That meme died, and now the new meme is, Apple products last too long. I've been reading that as if that's a bad thing. People are saying, "Oh yeah, Apple's declining because their products they last too long." What? It's funny how much people hate on Apple when they're proven wrong, they jump to the other side to something that's a positive and try to make it sound like a negative. Yes, that's the new meme. Their products last too long. Question: what's driving services growth and gross margins? Services is a business that is growing nicely. Good support from scale. Broad portfolio of services with different margins inside. Of course, services is going to grow. What about video? Content Plus, iTunes on Samsung TV. So Apple is doing what they did in the PC industry. They're doing that in the TV industry. They're letting iTunes go cross-platform. A lot of people are scared that Samsung may share user data because they don't give a shit about user data. But as far as we know, everything should stay. All your user data should stay safe in iTunes. A lot of TVs are getting iTunes and AirPlay 2 now. So they're doing the whole Windows thing again. Where it's funny because everybody bashes Apple till they get a piece of Apple, then they get excited. Happened with Windows. Windows users were saying iPod and iTunes sucked, but as soon as Windows got iTunes, it took over. Cook: huge changes in customer behavior taking place now, and we think it will accelerate as the year goes by in regards to thin bundling. Cook: we're going to participate in that in a variety of ways. Cook cites Apple TV and AirPlay 2 to get into that kind of thing, plus third-party subscription revenue. Cook on original content: we will participate in the original content world, but not extending that conversation today. Apple is usually super secretive because they're used to people stealing their ideas, but it's funny how they're open to the fact that they're working on original content. I find that strange. The most likely answer is because original content isn't innovative at all. It's been done since, probably the dawn of time, but Apple always does things differently. So if somebody says, "Oh, it's gonna be like Netflix," no, it's not. Apple finds a way to fix the market and fix things and take over, and that's most likely what they're gonna do. It's gonna be a lot more than original content. We're gonna be surprised. Watch. Here are a few other things to note. Apple App Store breaks records. Customers spent $1.22 billion in 1 week. Unheard of. New record. Customers spent over $322 million on New Year's Day 2019. 2019, onto a good start. Apple gained more users, 75 million to be exact. Apple's App Store started off 2019 with a bang. So things are looking good in 2019, like Cook said so far. Apple Music grows to 50 million subscribers. Apple News up to 85 million monthly users during holiday quarter. Again, if you saw my old Apple Music takeover video, I'm predicting about 80 million this year. Apple News up to 85 million monthly users. So there's a rumor that there's going to be a subscription Apple News, and that's just going to increase services even more. It's just ridiculous. Services is just getting so huge. And that's it. Apple's second biggest quarter explained.